So, welcome to our Finding a New Starting Line podcast. This is about the fact that a new physical challenge or a climb, we could call it, often defines a new starting line in life, one that opens up a new awareness of a new beginning, not just in athletics, but also in all areas of life. And new physical challenges, even at the beginning, spark new hope. And let's face it, they're really not easy. It's not easy to start something new. So, as you know from maybe listening to some of the other podcasts, these are interviews with people at different phases of their lives, from their 20s to their 80s. And many are at the beginning of their climb, and some are reflecting on their experience after their climbs. So, I'm Kathy Utschneider, professor of goal achievement and sports leadership at Boston College and founder of Move, a goal achievement community grounded in physical goals and a community that has all kinds of people from D1 coaches and professional athletes to recreational athletes to surgeons to artists to grandmothers to executives, students, teachers, all kinds of people. Anyway, today I'm here with my friend Vish, and who's also a member of our community. And Vish, can you probably summarize your background, where you've been, uh, a little more succinctly than I might? Welcome, Vish. And you're in what, 34, that area? 30.
Yeah, 35 now. Yeah. But yeah, thank you so much for having me. And yeah, I can summarize it real quick. I think um, the one thing that probably like is the main thing that will describe me the best is that I've been an athlete my whole life. I come from Serbia, started playing volleyball when I was 8 years old, and then slowly but surely like progressed to playing with like my youth national team, and then got recruited to come to the States and play, at a collegiate level and study. I was
At Florida
on,
State? Was that Florida State?
yeah, I was played there. I was three times All-American. I also, the same year, same academic year, went to both indoor and beach volleyball Final Four, and
Oh.
then played professionally for a couple of years, and then returned to the States after playing for a couple of years as a coach, and that's how I met you because I was a, assistant coach at Boston College. So it's kind of been there's been transitions right throughout my athletic career from being an athlete to being a coach, but always been in the sports world, right?
Mhm.
Um, and until recently, where I like, started working as a therapist or a mental health counselor. So always been active, but like maybe lost some of that team spirit, competitive edge that I had before. And, in conversation with you and encouragement, recently found a new way to kind of implement that back into my life. So
I
yeah.
think I suggested your new sport about years ago, right?
Years ago when we first met, I think, yeah.
Really?
And
So
it
that
just
must have been
yeah.
like 6 years ago, 8 years ago.
You know what? I think
Oh,
at least, yeah.
wow.
Maybe, yeah.
So I
So
suggested, what did I suggest and why? And then what, you
yeah.
do it right away. Can you tell?
Yeah, so you suggested for me to start rowing, right? Because I am tall and strong, so I guess that that's one of the things you need, right, to be a rower. But yeah, I didn't start it in the right away because where I lived in Nevada. It was kind of like hard to find a rowing club, and but it was always in the back of my mind. But more recently, I moved to Florida, and I remember when I first moved here, I had a conversation with you about like, meeting new people, and you were like, "Well, I think this is a good time to, start rowing." And the same day, I like Googled it, found a club, and here we are. It's been a couple of months that I've been doing it now. Yeah. So, yeah.
What did it feel like to sort of show up at a place where you didn't know anybody and to be, you've been professional, now you're a beginner. Like
Yeah,
that
it
then.
was
Yeah.
it was I will say it's a combination of scary and exciting at the same time, I guess. The good part of it is that this club that I'm at, they have like it's a learn to row class, I guess, before you even join the club. So you're kind of in the same boat with with people in your beginner level. So that made me a little bit more comfortable, but also coming from a background of being pretty good at, at being an athlete in my sport, it was very, and it still is, uncomfortable because I'm just starting to learn.
Right.
So, but like I will say that I really enjoy the team spirit, right? Like being a part of a team, and I really miss that. And that's really like I don't know, like the most it's I don't know if that's sad or what, but it's a very exciting part of my life right now, the rowing practices. So,
So you moved to Florida where you had a few friends and your job right now. What are you doing
yeah.
right now? What's your job right now?
I'm still a mental health counselor.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
has the rowing given you a group of friends who you wouldn't have had otherwise? I mean, I assume that's the case, right?
Yeah, and that's the part that I really enjoy, right? Like it's I've always wanted to hang out with people who really are not in that world, mental health world. It's
Yes.
like, when you do something, it kind of, you get a little bit I don't know, just like too much of the same topic, right? And so now I'm surrounded with people from, I mean, different walks of life, uh, and it's very interesting. Like we don't talk that much about our professional parts of life. It's more like rowing and the fun we had, or like what was the kind of fun thing in practice, or what is something we didn't do well, and it gives me a really good break from that professional part of my life. Yeah.
Does it make you, I don't know, do it make you laugh or like when you are a beginner again, when you were a D1
Yes.
coach, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think like people like now we have a good group of people. We've been together in that learn to row class, and now we're like in practices together. Luckily, a lot of us from that class joined the club. So like we've known each other for a little bit now, and
For how
I
long
think
have you
they
known them? For how long have you been there?
I want to say it's been like 3 months now altogether.
Wow. Uh-huh.
Yeah. And so I think like the people that I'm, close with kind of know my background. So they're always like, laughing at me because I'm always like, oh, that was horrible. And they're like, well, you're used to being good at something. So, everything's gonna look horrible to you. Just have fun. So yeah, they
You're learning
remind
from
me.
them about kind of loosening up or whatever.
Yes, yes. But it's definitely funny too, because sometimes, you have to learn to laugh at yourself and not be good at at something. So yeah,
It
yeah.
feel very different from the volleyball world, not only because it's something new, but in what ways is the rowing feel very different from volleyball? I would imagine it is, right?
Yeah. Well, the first, like, I want to say, like, the main thing, I was just like volleyball surrounded with girls, right? Like, and this is like mixed, right? So,
Oh, it
like,
is. Oh, wow.
yeah, so we have guys and girls, and I think that kind of gives a good like balance and energy, and I mean, also like even physical energy, trying to keep up with guys sometimes is challenging and is a good workout for
You're
me.
competing with the guys too?
Or sometimes, yeah, but like, even when you're in the same boat and with guys, it's just like d depending on your like seat placement, I mean it you have to keep up with them. They're just like physically stronger. So I notice the difference
Mhm.
when it's all the girls and when it's the guys on the boat. So
Now, maybe your friends shouldn't listen to this, but here's my question. Are you catching on faster than some of the others, having been an athlete, or do you feel like, oh boy, this is
I
just,
think I want to say that it depends, right? Like I think some of the things just because I'm longer, like some of the things come more naturally to me, like the longer stroke and things like that. I can see that that comes easier to me than some of the other people, and I'm a little bit stronger, I think, than, you know. So I would say some of the things, I do figure out a little bit faster, but then, it is so much different than any sport I played, in the past. So it's a little bit challenging too, to me, starting with like sitting down, right? And
Yeah,
not having a ball, right?
yeah.
So yeah, yeah.
So
So
how many times a week do you practice?
we practice twice a week, only on the weekends because it's amateur
Yeah.
club still, right? And however, they do once you do like the sculling class, you can start like, coming on your own during the weekdays too, like 6 a.m. So I'm still to, go through that class. So yeah, we'll see.
So do you find yourself like thinking about a goal that's a competitive one? Or are you like, oh, it's just fine to be in this class and I'm loving it and that's it? Or
Well, I I thought about that. I wish I could say that it's just having fun because we did have like a little race, like, just amongst, club members, but I found myself so, excited that I was like, yeah, I definitely need some of this back in my life. And they do go to regattas. As a matter of fact, there is one they're going to this next weekend. So, I'm still new, right? So I can't just like go and compete, but I can totally see myself getting into something like that too competitively once I get better. Yeah, because I miss that. I do miss that energy. I felt it that weekend when we raced, and I'm like, okay, there it is.
there it is.
It wakes up in you. Yeah, yeah.
So thank you, Vish. I think the only other question I'd like to ask is uh, just looking back on your time, on your years be after volleyball, is there, after your years with experience now starting something new, is there any advice that you would give to other people who, might be holding back on starting something or, uh, yeah,
Yeah. I think, I believe it's scary and it's kind of like it's one of those things where you're just like, okay, that's my past life, right? When you're not at the level you used to be anymore. But I think kind of humbling yourself and taking that, like having courage to take that first step um and just at least try it, right? Like I would say like at least trying it would be uh so a chance to open a new door in your life. And that's kind of what I've done and what we talked about, right? Like setting a new start line and just seeing how that works out in your life, trusting the process, you know. I
that's,
think, yeah.
and also I think you said that it has created a greater feeling of community and family quickly because you're in a new place, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that 100%. And it's like it's one of those things that it comes more naturally, right? It doesn't feel forced because you guys are already on the same team, right? So it's kind of like it just feels like, oh, let's hang out after practice instead of like planning things out and like kind of, just feeling like you're pushing something. This just comes naturally as you already have that shared experience, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much for sharing yours. And
Yeah.
I think it's inspiring. And as a member of our Move community always says, she says, just having the courage to take on a new goal, it keeps us from drifting. And, now you're finding your competitive spirit again, and it's
Mhm.
really exciting. So, Vish, thanks so
Yeah.
much for sharing it. Okay.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for
You're
letting me share.
welcome. Yeah, awesome.